Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're cracking what might literally be the ultimate cosmic code. We're stepping into the mind of Abraham Abulafia, a radical 13th century Jewish mystic who tried something absolutely audacious. He tried to mathematically hack the divine system. Seriously, imagine a medieval thinker looking at the entire universe like it's a giant computer operating system and trying to find the backdoor to God. That's exactly what we're exploring today. To keep us from getting totally lost in space with this dense esoteric theory, we'll follow a quick roadmap. 1. The mystic and the Messiah. 2. Turning flesh into word. 3. The cosmic serpent of sorcery. 4. Prophecy, science, and magic. And 5. The warp and the woof. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. The mystic and the Messiah. We are starting off with a massive historical paradox that kind of defines our guy here. Abraham Abulafia was a fiercely devoted Jewish Kabbalist, yet he was completely obsessed with the core doctrines of Christianity, his main theological rival. Now, Abulafia didn't just wave away Christian theology from a distance. Oh no. He was the kind of thinker who loved to dismantle his opponent's engine to see how it ran. He actively took Christian ideas apart, covertly co-opting huge concepts like the Trinity, Jesus, and the Incarnation, to build his very own radical system of Jewish mysticism. He essentially looked at Christian dogma and decided, hey, I'm going to reverse engineer this for my own mystical practice. And his main hacking tool for all of this? Gematria. For him, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet weren't just marks on a page. They were the literal, mathematical building blocks of reality. By scrambling these letters, crunching their numerical values, and finding hidden links between words, he was convinced he could tap straight into the pure, divine intellect. Which brings us to Section 2, turning flesh into word. This is where he pulls off his most audacious hack yet, taking a foundational Christian concept and just completely flipping it backwards. It's a striking, direct contrast. Think about the standard Christian modality. You have the divine logos, or the word, descending from heaven and corporealizing into human flesh. Well, Abulafia entirely inverts that. He argues for a kabbalistic inversion, where the mystic's human flesh is actually transubstantiated back into the divine word. So the ultimate goal wasn't just to, pray and feel a warm connection with God. It was a physical and linguistic overhaul. Abulafia believed that if you meditated hard enough on these letter permutations, you could literally inscribe the divine name onto your own body. You wouldn't just meet the divine, your literal physical makeup would transform into the divine name itself. Wild, right? Section 3. The cosmic serpent of sorcery. Now, achieving that level of personal transformation was incredibly dangerous. It meant navigating a terrifying celestial landscape guarded by a massive cosmic entity. Enter the Teli. Abulafia pictured the Teli as the axis mundi, the central pillar of the universe, visualized as this giant astrological serpent in the heavens. And this wasn't just some neat metaphor. To him, it held raw, dangerous demiurgic power, the actual power to physically shape the material world. And he believed this serpent was deeply entangled with sorcery, idolatry, and, fascinatingly enough, the figure of Jesus. This really shows how his brilliant, complex cosmology worked. He saw the entire universe, even the four-letter name of God, split into a strict binary. On one hand, the YH part represents pure prophecy, masculinity, and the head of the Teli. But on the other hand, the VH side represents the feminine, the material, the dangerous sorcery he associated with Jesus, and the tail of the Teli. He saw this tail as super dangerous, but, crucially, absolutely necessary for creation. And this is where it gets mind-blowing. To explain this whole cosmic setup, Abulafia borrows a very specific biblical metaphor. Back in the book of Numbers, Moses lifts up a brazen copper serpent to heal the Israelites. The Gospel of John heavily used that exact imagery to prefigure Jesus' crucifixion. Abulafia knows this Christian connection, and he just dives right into it. He decrypts the imagery using his math and letter permutations, basically mapping the Christian serpent metaphor perfectly onto his own Kabbalistic system. For Abulafia, the brazen serpent reclaims the title for the Jewish Messiah. He links it to bodily resurrection and even ties it into the super complex rules of levirate marriage mechanics. It's this bizarre, intricate parallel where the serpent is both ultimate sorcery and ultimate salvation. It can kill Satan, or if you mess up, it'll kill you.
Section 4, Prophecy, Science, and Magic. Because this cosmic serpent embodies both pure salvation and literal demonic sorcery, the mystic had to walk a razor-thin tightrope to survive.
And that leads to one of his most shocking instructions. He genuinely insisted that if you want to be a true prophet, you can't just avoid the dark arts. You actually have to learn them. As he put it, every prophet of God must know first the power of sorcery. To him, natural sciences, things like medicine, math, astrology, were fundamentally tied to the sorcerous world, but you absolutely couldn't skip them.
So he lays out a strict 3-step methodology. Step 1, master natural science. You've got to understand the body, the stars, numbers. Step 2, critically filter all that dangerous natural knowledge through the divine science of pure logic and Hebrew letter permutation. Only after doing that can you hit step 3, achieving true prophecy without accidentally falling into demonic error or heresy.
The big takeaway here is that the line between a dark sorcerer and a divine mystic is practically non-existent. So what separates them? Well, Abulafia says it's the transformative power of study and purely focused intention. Through rigorous, intense contemplation of those divine letters, you basically vanquish your inner demons, which he saw as self-doubt or the temptations of rival faiths, and you elevate base astrology into profound mysticism.
Section 5, the warp and the woof. All right, the culmination of all this extreme theological hacking, this whole perilous journey past the cosmic serpent, it all leads to his ultimate goal for humanity. Abulafia loved using the Hebrew term shetiva erev, which basically translates to the warp and the woof, like the threads on a weaver's loom. He uses this as a metaphor for how a successful mystic finally weaves together the fundamentally opposed forces of the universe. Think about what's actually being woven together here. The mystic is perfectly lacing together the masculine and feminine halves of the divine name. They're joining the pure soul with the messy, unclean physical body. They're reconciling the prophetic head and the sorcerous tail of the cosmic serpent. By doing all this, the Kabbalist is literally weaving themselves into a divine being, transforming their own flesh into a vessel for the divine presence, a state he called the Prince in me.
So as we wrap up this explainer, we're left staring down a pretty profound dilemma. Abulafia engineered this wildly complex system to mathematically hack the boundary between humanity and God, diving headfirst into what he knew were the dangerous, sorcerous waters of rival theologies. But we have to ask, by seeking to weave the opposing forces of the universe within his own body, was Abulafia finding the ultimate path to divine perfection? Or was he just falling prey to the ultimate hubris of human ambition? It's a question that makes his 13th century texts feel thrillingly, dangerously alive even today. Thanks for joining me, and keep questioning the code.